What is money?
Money is just paper.
So does that mean that money is value?
This is a huge difference between people that make thousands and people that make millions.
I think that's a concept that not a lot of people understand, and it's pretty new.
And this is where people get trapped.
How do you spot that?
Sometimes it's practice and sometimes it's profit.
Isn't there the possibility of living in poverty because you don't have people reciprocate?
This is one of the biggest reasons that I'm not even wealthier.
How do you discover what would be valuable to a person?
It actually destroys your wealth.
How do you deal with that conundrum?
They might become victims of their own nature because they don't value themselves.
Money is kind of an elusive thing. What is money?
Money, it's a snapshot in time. It tells us about value we created in the past that we're now storing up to today. Money is just paper. Money is just dots on a computer screen. Money is just something I can utilize to tap into someone else providing value that I might not even know, so that we could be super efficient with that exchange.
And so then with that, you're talking about money is value.
Money isn't necessarily value. It's a representation of value.
Gotcha.
Okay.
What do you always say?
Money follows value.
Money follows value. The question then becomes, is value mean that I'm always helping someone like earn more money? Is it always tied financially?
No. Nope. Here's the thing. First off, value is perspective. So what one person values, another person might not value. Okay. And I might add value to my son, right? He's not going to pay me for that.
That's true.
Maybe give me a hug, maybe, just have some time with me. But that's not necessarily going to translate into dollars for me, but it translates into how I operate as a person.
Okay.
Do I show up as a value creator? Do I think and ask the question in each situation, how can I create the most value, right? How can I create the most value? That's a question. Now, I always think in two things. Number one, can I personally do it? There's some value that I can personally create right now in this moment. If I can't, who do I know? Right? But again, like I might just, for my own sake, want to go visit my parents, and they might feel like that was valuable to them. Like last night at the cabin, my dad came up to help me with some stuff. I didn't pay him. I gave him some clothes. I gave him a workout machine because we put together a new one. So I guess he, as a byproduct, he got some things, but he didn't get money. It's just time with his son.
Yeah.
So family would be one thing. You might know someone that's like extraordinarily intelligent. They're a glue of the family, and yet they're not very financially well off. And part of it's because they might just invest everything into the family. And really, money is just this really efficient tool to exchange with one another. We don't have to exchange money with the people that we know best sometimes, right? But we exchange money with strangers when we add value to their life, when we serve them, when we solve some type of problem, and they go, hey, I'm going to give you money because what they're skilled at might not be what I want, may or may not be. So I want that efficiency. And what's great about the money is I can now just kind of store that value, right? It's just a store of value. That's it. It's not value in and of itself. It's a store of value. It's a representation of value. So the thing is, when we think that money is value, then we confuse self-worth and net worth, right? When we start thinking it's the same thing, like, ooh, the greater the net worth, the more worth I might have. But worth is not just that, because first of all, there's intrinsic, right? Like, what are we just worth because we're human beings? Just intrinsically value, right? But there's also worth in, there's the price that we pay for something. There's the economic cost behind that. And there's the value, which is the feeling of satisfaction or enjoyment. So value is one piece of worth. Cost is the economics. Maybe something has a low price, high cost. I flew Frontier Airlines once. That's how it felt. Low price, high cost. Couldn't move. Couldn't type. Just super painful.
Yeah.
And there could be things that are high price and low cost.
Yeah.
The right advice, the right system, the right AI tool, maybe it just helps save something. So there are things with high price, low cost. But if we look at value first, and then the economics behind it second, and then third, we look at the price, this is the formula for financial freedom. Financial freedom is in this formula because freedom is a state of mind. It's a perspective.
Versus most people go the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Right?
What's the price?
Cost, and they don't even think about the
cost, right? Because Look, I remember when I joined Genius Network way back in the day. And back in those days, it was 25 grand. That was a pretty high price.
Yeah.
But considering the relationships and the knowledge and the money I made because of it, it was low cost. Right? And it was high value for me because I just had great relationships and lessons, and it was well worth it. But it depends on you. And so there's plenty of times that you might just create value. And this is where people get trapped. I'll tell you what, this is the trap. Okay. This is a huge difference between people that make thousands and people that make millions.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this trap right here. So the trap is this. If you're helping people, but they don't appreciate it and they don't pay for it, right? It's simply you're creating entitlement. It actually destroys your wealth. It'll lower your value. You think you're adding value, but they're draining value, right? So if I'm adding value to someone, I want either it'd be great to get value back. Maybe it's advice, maybe it's attention, maybe it's whatever it is, or it'd be great to get money. But if I add value and it's just this black hole, right, where I don't ever see anything back and I keep giving to it and I keep giving to it and I keep giving to it, I will have less to give because I will have not earned money or I will not gain knowledge. And ultimately, this is the problem. People get with people that are total victims, stuck in the consumer condition, that are entitled and they want everything for free, right? But they know the price of everything and the cost of nothing, right? They know the value of nothing, right? They simply look at what can they take. And in the book Give and Take by Adam Grant, Give and Take, he's basically saying, hey, what if you have takers in the middle? Well, who's on the bottom? Givers. Who's on the top? Givers. Well, what's the difference between the givers on the top and the bottom? Is giving value without receiving anything in return over and over and over. So yeah, maybe there's altruistic people or benevolent people that are just saying, I just want to give. But at the same time, they might become victims of their own nature because they don't value themselves.
How did you differentiate those people? What did you look for?
I didn't see it at times.
Okay.
Because some of them are great at manipulation.
Yeah.
Right? They're good at telling stories, but not creating value. They're good at getting you to talk, but they don't actually do the work. And so the reality is, this is one of the biggest reasons that I'm not even wealthier. This is one of the biggest costs because I thought that, hey, I'm being a team player. Hey, I'm doing the good. I'm a good guy. You know, I'm doing what I thought was the quote unquote right thing. But you know what? I had to start asking, what am I giving up? What am I giving up? Time with family? Health, money that could then go back into building, the right people, process, procedures, the infrastructure, the support, the systems, right? I'm basically lowering who I am. It's almost like taking a gamble on a relationship, and that relationship had no intent of ever giving anything back. And the more you give to it, the more they take from it, and the less you have to give because it's so exhausting.
Yeah.
The first thing is, when we're giving to family, that might not have a financial reward, right? Number two, same can happen with friends sometimes, but I also find sometimes my friends that want advice but don't pay me don't always get the best advice because they don't look to take it from me that often, right? Because they're trying to be considerate and kind and don't want to take advantage, but at the same time, they don't get this time and attention and intention and kind of the framework. So that's another thing, it could be family, it could be friends, but it could also just be those takers. It could be those people that live in the consumer condition that take more than they give, that believe in a zero-sum game, right? They believe that we take at the expense of another and win at the expense of another. And the reality is those people aren't playing in a collaborative, cooperative, co-creation type of world. And so the next thing is, there's just some times where we think that we're creating value, but we're not.
Yeah. How do you spot that?
Yeah. So maybe you have this idea, right? You're like, ooh, this is a great idea. And I want to do something about it. So you ask your family, you ask friends, you ask people who are not payers, people who do not pay you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get faulty advice. You get faulty feedback, bad feedback, because maybe they're just being nice. Maybe they don't want to hurt your feelings, but why not test the idea on people that pay? Even if you do what's really cool, which is like a pre-sell, right? Where you sell it before it's done, get the money in, then build the program or the product or the service, right? And then you don't owe the money back. You just complete what you offered, so you don't have to borrow a single cent.
Yeah.
And then in that pre-sell, you get testimonials maybe.
Yeah. You've proved that there's a market.
You've got real feedback from people who paid you. You've made money and you can start to reinvest those dollars to build more infrastructure and improve the program. So that's one of the most powerful things that could be done is that pre-sell. But there's too many people that are asking the wrong people and wasting a whole lot of time.
Because you're a very connected individual. And I think the large portion of that connectivity is because you've provided so much value in other people's lives. Or how do you discover what would be valuable to a person?
Oh, yeah. So this is the thing. You've got to ask really good questions, right? In the old days, we had this thing called the producer revolution. Mm-hmm. Are you a producer? Are you creating more value than you consume? And it was exciting times. And we'd always say, how can I create more value for you? But the thing is, you now put the burden
on the person. And it's like, I don't know.
It's like, I don't know. It's like, that's a tough question. So what you do is you got to ask more questions.
Okay.
Today I was on a coaching call, and when I told him, I said, what's your greatest obstacle? What's your greatest opportunity? What are you most excited about? If you had one relationship that would give you the greatest capability today, what would that be? What capability would you be looking for that would take you to another level? What are you most frustrated about with things that you consistently have to work on you wish someone else could do? These are all kind of related questions, but I'm just asking enough questions to understand that individual and what is it they want. And so what you have to get by, you have to break through this barrier. This barrier right here is that a lot of people don't want to be vulnerable. A lot of people don't want to ask for help.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to do it themselves. And a lot of people just haven't been trained to think about what they need. And so if you can ask the right questions, they can start to tell you, oh, I would love this.
Yeah.
Who do you know that does that? Hey, I would, and the thing is, all of a sudden you can start to, build on it because people just aren't always good at receiving, right? They're good sometimes at complaining. Mm-hmm. And then you can say, oh, that complaint gives me insight to what they're looking for.
Yeah.
They're good at maybe sometimes casting a vision. But, I had someone once was like, I'm going to double my business in the next 12 months. I'm like, really? How? What's the biggest risk to that not happening? What would you have to do that you're not currently doing? What would you have to stop doing that you're currently doing? I just start asking those start and stop questions. What's going to be different? Is it through harder work or did you get a new insight? So it's the question behind the question, right? You ask a question, then you ask another question that's personal to what you just heard. It's like an onion. You have to keep peeling back these layers of the onion, because there's so many damn layers of an onion till you finally get to what's at the core. A lot of people don't know how to tell you what's at the core because they're not even quite sure.
Yeah.
They're just busy. They're just doing. They're just, working. And so it's asking questions that helps you to gain access to how to serve someone and add more value for them. And then you have to have the confidence to do it. And also part of that confidence is saying, I don't know, but I might know someone who does.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was going to be my next question is once you figure it out, if it's not in my wheelhouse or my expertise, it's how can I add value?
Yeah, I just go with the impact equation. Right? Usually it's a matter of, is it the number of people they're reaching? Or is it the depth of impact of those they already reach? So is it a skill set issue or is it a marketing issue? And then I'm just looking at the mental capital times relationship capital equals financial capital. So I'm like, is it an idea that's an issue, or is it a person? And is it a skill that they're going to develop, or is it something they're going to hire? And then I'm just looking at myself. Do I know the answer, or do I know someone who does? And I might make a connection and I'll never get paid on it ever, but it teaches me how to create value. It's just, sometimes it's practice and sometimes it's profit.
Yeah.
And once you understand it might be practice or profit, you don't go, am I going to get paid? And then you limit your value. Weston, that's the problem. Too many people don't put their best foot forward because they think that they need to be behind some paywall, or someone has to do all these things for them to give their best. Give your best, and then you'll even get better.
Isn't there the possibility of, putting your best foot forward and then you just keep living in poverty because you don't have people reciprocate?
Yeah, that's because, again, number one, you might not know how to ask for help.
Okay.
You might just have this notion, right, where you go, hey, I did this. Hopefully they'll now think about doing that.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it might just mean that you need to ask again.
Oh.
And you say, who do you know?
Who could use this?
Yeah. And sometimes, like just being direct. Like, I like to make a deposit first. How can I make a deposit into the relationship capital? So when it comes time, they say, what can I do for you? Now I can take a withdrawal, but maybe that withdrawal is actually not really a withdrawal. It's a win-win. It's just that I'm asking for something that's going to directly benefit me. And most people don't. They beat around the bush. They hope someone will think about them. They hope someone, like, that's kind of like the time I came home once and my wife was really mad at me. I'm like, why are you mad? She's like, well, last night I set this Santa tree topper and you didn't put it on the tree. I'm like, but you didn't tell me to do it. She's like, yeah, but I thought you would see it. I'm like, well, if you had asked me to do it, I would have just done it. And, it's early in our marriage. And I'm using one example where she could have improved. She probably has a lot more examples where I could have improved. So I want to be clear about that. But, when someone doesn't tell me what their expectations are, doesn't ask for what they want, I don't have a crystal ball, but I can ask a lot of good questions to kind of get to the bottom. What I've been good at doing is just making connections, because sometimes I'm not the one that has that ability. Someone's coming out with a book. I'm like, which podcast would be good for them? What stages would be good for them? Like, who would buy bulk of their books that they know? Can I read the book? Can I endorse the book? Those are a couple things, and I might not have the time to read and endorse it right away. So those connections might be a fast way for me to make good progress with them, or deliver value, or add results. See, because what I want to be careful of is I have my circle of value. Like, this is my sweet spot in here, right? These are all my abilities. And what I made a mistake of in my 20s is I would go outside of those to try to create value. And I just would be chaos. It would be overwhelm. It would be too much commitment, right? I'd be overcommitted. And then the problem is now I'm just like, man, I don't have time for the things that I am best at and the things that I want to do. And that's where people think they need to sacrifice, but they don't need to sacrifice, because that often leads to suffering. They say yes when what they meant was no. They people please because they think that other people will like them.
Yeah.
And they just expect, oh, that's what's going to be the big payoff because I've done this. Then in the future, they'll think of me. The thing is, a lot of people aren't thinking of anyone but themselves. So you have to actually nudge them and help them to understand how to help you. That's the key. But yeah, value. Do you know what you want? If you don't, it's hard for people to help you. Can you ask for what you want? If not, people aren't going to know how to support you. So always have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things you're looking for. I'm always looking like, how can we integrate AI to be even more effective? How can I learn a lot more about media and so that we have a greater reach and reputation? How can I learn about branding? Like, see, I could just ask these kind of things, and then all of a sudden people know how to support me. They know what to do. But most people, how can I help you? And people go, I'm good. Thanks for asking. Okay, you just shut it down. But this is the thing. When you help someone and they appreciate you, you're going to feel better about yourself. If someone gets a chance to help you using their unique abilities and gifts, they're going to feel better about you and themselves. It actually becomes a win-win. But if you think somehow you're going to be a burden, or you think somehow the best thing to do would be to stay silent, or you're afraid you might hear no, or you might, you just aren't thinking at all, you're just kind of too busy doing, then what happens is you get in a world of constraint. And then the worst thing is you end up doing valuable things, have no agreement for it, and then you don't get paid. And the number one reason, you didn't value yourself. You got to value yourself. You got to stand for your value. When you start to say no to things that are okay, so that you can only say yes to the things that are a hell yes, then I think the world rewards you. You increase your standards. And those standards, they basically teach people how to treat you. And it actually elevates your brand. It elevates it elevates how people perceive you and the value that you can produce. So sometimes being most valuable means that you're willing to make that connection, but you're also willing to be connected. It means saying no sometimes, or, hey, I'm totally head down in these projects, but let me make some connections for you so you're still helpful, but you're not indentured to something that you didn't have time for.
I want to put my best foot forward. I want to add as much value, but then it's like also, I'm being told not to say yes to everything, right? To not dilute myself. So it's like, how do you deal with that conundrum?
Yep. So first off, what is value, right? We said it's perspective. And how do we deal with our time? How do we deal with our values and our family and our health and our business and all of the things that are extracurricular, that are critical and important, is that you basically have your guidelines. Are you around people that uplift you? Are you around people that support you? Are you around people that inspire you? Are you having impactful conversations? And then what you do is you learn to say no in a powerful way that's also polite.
Okay.
Here's an example. I'm honored that you think of me. I only do 24 speaking gigs a year, sometimes only 22. And my minimum fee is $25K. And if I'm going to do an hour speech and get paid anything less than $25K, I've got to make sure for every $1,000 less that I've got extra 5 minutes to talk about my business and in the right room, because then I can bring people into my multiplier program. So basically I can say yes, or I could say no, or I could say yes if, or I could say, I'm sorry, I've already booked, but thanks so much for thinking about me. I appreciate it. I just said no to someone. They said, hey, we'd like to have you speak. I'm like, what's your budget? Like, we don't have one. I'm like, oh, that's awesome of you to think of me. I kind of have what my schedule is and how I do this, but
that's a really
I'll let
good
you know
way.
if that changes.
From their perspective, they see the boundary and they hopefully won't go away thinking, oh man, what a jerk, because you showed appreciation.
Right. I had someone that's like, man, this is our first event. We'd love for you to speak on the last day. I'm like, well, I don't speak for less than 25K. They're like, what if we offered your licensing program? It's all advisors. And so we worked out a deal and I had a lot of fun. I went on Saturday, came home on that Saturday. We got 2 licensees from it. I had a great time, but it was something that I just put my boundaries out there. And when you have your boundaries and standards, guess what happens?
Because you spoke it out loud, you gave them the ability to then negotiate and add value to you.
Yeah.
Versus if you just said, no, thanks. It's like, boom, they're left without a way to reciprocate.
Right. And by the way, saying no is something that, why not be able to do that? I had 3 people ask me to endorse their book within 2 weeks. I said yes to 2 because I had time where I was hunting to sit down and read the books. I said no to 1. As soon as I started reading, I'm like, yeah, this one isn't my book. And when they're like, well, why wouldn't you endorse it? I'm like, well, first off, I was misled as to, my influence over this book and being quoted in it. And 2, it's not something I would put my name behind. And, I just don't want to do it. And they're like, well, we'll change it. And I'm like, I didn't look for a project. I want you to succeed. It's just, I'm not going to do this. And that's hard to do sometimes, but you get more powerful the more you do it, Yeah. If we try to help everyone, sometimes we lose ourselves and we help nobody. That's the thing. We've got to understand what value is, and we've got to understand and take care of ourselves, which is, it's not being selfish. It's making sure that we don't diminish ourselves and lose self-interest, that we don't sacrifice who we are to the point where we lose momentum, get overwhelmed, tell the people we love most no, because what happens is if we say yes to everything in business, we might be telling our family and our health no. So again, it's boundaries, it's standards, it's knowing your value. And I do think that value follows value. I do think that when I get a hug from my son, or, they actually every now and again respond to a text, it's like, man, that's pretty awesome.
It's a miracle.
But there's other times where I get dollar because someone's a stranger, or they're engaging the services that are being provided. And, we have infrastructure, and we have like a responsibility. I see it almost like a duty that if I don't take care of that responsibility, I'm going to lower the value of the program. And I also know when there's skin in the game, when people actually put money where their mouth is, that there's a higher degree of accountability and result. Right? I also feel like, hey, vote with the dollar. What are you worth and what are you getting? Versus doing everything for free and training people that you don't value yourself.
Yeah. You talked about the value equation, mental capital.
Mental capital times relationship capital equals financial capital. This is the value equation.
Yeah. I think that's a concept that not a lot of people understand, and it's pretty new.
Okay. So let's talk about mental capital. That's ideas, right? Wisdom. It's knowledge. It's insights. You kind of get the picture, right?
Yeah.
Strategies, tools. It's all those kind of things. So some people say it's not what you know, it's who you know. Well, guess what? If you don't know anything, you're going to get to know a lot of people. You got to bring something to the table.
People don't want to be around a clueless person.
Yeah. Then you got relationship capital. This is where most potential is squandered and untapped. This is where goodwill exists. And if you don't know how to ask for what you want, then you're never going to get this relationship capital to support you. So obviously that's everything from people and networks and organizations and friends and family and, mentors and coaches and employees and customers. It's people, right? I'll write it down a second time. It's people. So if you don't tap into relationship capital, it's unrealized potential. Because it's not that you can do everything, but there's other people's ability that can support you as well. So when we take our mental capital and we multiply it by relationship capital, that's what determines our financial capital. Financial capital is the receipt of value.
So
it's the byproduct of value.
Can people get financial capital without mental capital, relationship capital?
Well, even relationship capital, you have to, if you marry into it, right? That's relationship capital.
Okay.
If you inherit it, that's relationship capital. So if you win the lottery, that would be one way, or if you gamble, like you still did some activity, but those are not sustained winnings. Those are not like a sustainable model.
Gotcha.
But mental capital to relationship capital, the bridge is business. And the way the bridge works is service, solving problems, adding value. So the more value that we add to people, the more financial capital we have. And the best way to create leverage is how can we create our mental capital in a way that it impacts more relationships? Either the deeper the impact, right? Or the greater the reach, the higher the opportunity for financial capital.
Meaning the more mental, like the greater the reach is sharing
more
mental
people.
Capital to more people. Okay.
Right? Deeper, just more impact.
Yeah.
So again, this is the value bridge. And so if you want more financial capital, well, do you have good ideas? Are you bringing those ideas and value to the world and to people? Or is it just dreaming and not doing? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it brilliant, but is it not reaching anyone? You got to think about these things. Like it's that simple, that easy, and that hard at the same time. Obviously, you've got to bring that to people, but do they want it? Do they know that they want it? How do I reach them? How do I help them? How do I support them? How do I overcome their fears and inadequacies? How do I overcome the past experiences that didn't work out well for them and say that this is a place where there could be trust, there's true impact, what the intent behind it is, because sometimes people want value, but they're concerned. Can someone actually deliver the value that they say? And those people out in the world that have said they would deliver value, but did not destroy wealth at some of the greatest rate you could ever imagine.
Any examples?
Yeah, let's say that I pay for something. I went to my wife paid for this thing. It was Immortal or something like that. It was supposed to be like the best health thing, and it was $15K, and we got $0 of value. So we actually had all this hope that it was going to help her. End up supplements really hurt her brain for a while and her emotions, and so it was like decimating. Right? It was like made her feel like, is this even possible? Am I going to be able to have the energy that I want? And so there was like despair and distraught. And now she had to dive deeper before she would part with her money and get to the health that she needed and find the right people. But like, you know, we were trying to get our son healthy, and half the people were fantastic and the other half kind of overpromised. And I don't think they overpromised because they didn't think they could help. I think that they hoped that they could, but they didn't know for sure. And sometimes people are so concerned about their own money that they say yes when they're not actually capable.
Yeah.
Right. And that really creates a lack of trust. That really becomes where money gets, you know, drained because now someone's being rewarded for something they did not do. Right. And that's where so many people go, they're wealthy, you know, they're wealthy because they took something or they did something or there's coercion or deception. And it's like some bad experience they try to extrapolate and put on everyone all the time.
Yeah, because it does happen.
Happens.
But it's the exception to the rule, not the rule.
Yep.
So does that mean that money is value?
Nope. It's just a store of value.
Okay.
And it's only as valuable as we perceive it to be. We've just agreed that this piece of paper or these dots on a computer screen, right, that end up saying whatever numbers are on there, we basically said, I agree that I'm going to store that value here, that I could use it at a different time. Like if you came and helped me and you're like, okay, now you owe me, but when you need help, I don't know how to do it because you're handier than I am.
Yeah, yeah.
How do we do? Well, we could do that with money. Hey, you can cash this in at a later date.
Gotcha.
And in any different way that you want based upon what that represents. But it's just a representation of value. It's not why you're valuable. And it doesn't dictate what you're capable of or determine your future or even reflect your potential. It's just a snapshot in time, right? It's a snapshot right now. It accounts for where you're at today and things that happened in the past. But it doesn't dictate the future, right? That's what we have to understand. Because it's not that money creates value, it's that relationships and ideas create value, right? So you're one idea or one relationship away from a new level of prosperity, but you've got to really decide, do you know what you want? And have you built enough relationship capital to be able to, you know, to have a great network of people that will support you and cheer you on and help you out and give you advice?
So when people go from like having millions to not having millions, not having anything, is that because they stopped providing value?
No, they could have had bad mental capital.
Oh.
And that led to a ton of risk, right? Or they could have had terrible relationships. And that relationship, maybe it's a divorce with a partnership or a spouse, or maybe that was something to do with fraud or something like that. So that could start to drain, right?
So it's not necessarily that they stopped providing value, just that those other parts of the equation.
Right. And it could be that they had some luck that was in there. And so they had a really big net worth for a while because of timing. And then all of a sudden the economy changed. And what they felt was skill wasn't as much skill. It was timing, right?
Yeah.
So they could have real estate that just goes up in value big time. And then all of a sudden the economy, interest rates change, that real estate goes down in value. They're still the same person, but their net worth is down.
Gotcha.
So this is why soul purpose is so important. Soul purpose is your abilities. It's your values. It's your passions for the highest context of living. It's who you are when you're at your best. So if you've invested in yourself and you've got real skills, you've got a great network with tons of relationship capital, and you've got ideas that you know how to execute on, you could have times where you make mistakes and, you know, you have something happen, but you can bounce back because it's what you did to grow yourself instead of only grow an account. See, because if someone has money in an account and that money grows substantially, but they don't know why it grew or how it grew or why it would last or how it would last. Well, eventually that could come crashing down because of the risk, because of the ignorance, because of the not knowing, right? Because of the scarcity, even though that person could destroy it themselves.
Yeah.
Where if that individual grows themselves and their financial IQ, their business IQ, the emotional IQ, like, you know, the list kind of goes on, their selling ability, you know, all that kind of stuff. If they grow that, they're more likely to be sustainable because now they have real business acumen. Now they have real skills that lead to real wealth versus, hey, here's some money. You inherited it. Now what?
Yeah.
Right.
Good luck.
Hey, you bought the right crypto coin at the right time, but now what?
Yeah.
How do you can keep that or grow that or have that be sustainable?
Yeah. It's
right.
like,
It comes down to what are your skills?
yeah.
Right. Who are you? How do you add value? Did you get lucky or did you grow in value?
Yeah.
So I'm always like, you want to grow your value in order to grow your money. If you grow your money without growing your value, well, guess what can happen? It can come crashing down fast.
Yeah. It's like, you know, our house doubled in value. So my net worth technically doubled, but it's like, I didn't do anything
Timing,
to do that.
luck, interest rates. I mean, you did buy the house, so you had that, but you can't necessarily spend it.
Yeah.
You know, in 2020, I started like thinking about my net worth a lot more than I should have. And I started thinking about what my net worth was, and it's like, wow, why I know better than this. And then as it started to change, because some of the stuff I bought wasn't worth as much, and you know, some of it went really up between 2020 and 2022, and others of it went down.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality was I was still the same person, but if my focus was on what I stood to lose or trying to hold on to what I had, I wasn't thinking about creating value. I wasn't thinking about advancing the future. I wasn't thinking about creating a big vision. And that's the scarcity that's so subtle that can really sabotage people's success.